Okay, guys, welcome back. Day 2 here. This is when we get into the real stuff. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at, what's this crazy line? We're going to be looking at now these triangles in the coordinate graph system. If you notice the title of this note, it says all students take calculus. That's just not me being funny. That's going to be a helpful reminder of what you can do. So this is what I mean by all students take calculus. All in the first quadrant, students in the second quadrant, take in the third quadrant, calculus in the fourth quadrant. If you were here in school, I would be yelling this all the time. This is going to be a very important thing. I would have told you put this at the top of your paper when you take your test. So what does this stand for? These are the trig functions that are positive in these quadrants. And you're always going to think, all students take calculus, all students take calculus, and pay attention to what quadrant you're in. So these are the positive quadrants. So the A stands for all. All the trig functions are positive in this quadrant. All 6. Remember, there are 6 trig functions. They're all positive in the first quadrant. Second quadrant, the S stands for sine, and of course the reciprocal function cosecant. All positive in the second quadrant. That means everything else is negative. So 2 are positive, 4 are negative. Third quadrant, T means tangent, and the reciprocal function cotangent are positive in this quadrant. All the other ones are negative. So take a wild guess at what C stands for. You guessed it. Cosine. Cosine and reciprocal function secant are positive. All the other ones are negative in that quadrant. So you're always going to think, what quadrant am I in? All students take calculus. Oh, I'm in the fourth quadrant. That means cosine and secant are positive. Everything else is negative. The C, the T, and the S always represent our main trig functions, sine, cosine, tangent. And then the reciprocal functions just go along with it. Okay, so let's say we're going to find all 6 trig functions. When an angle terminates, stops. No, I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say when an angle goes through the point negative, we're going to go -8, comma 6. We're going to find all 6 trig functions. So of course I draw a picture. Yes, you need to draw a picture. So now I think about plotting this point. When I plot this point, -8, comma 6, I'm going to go left 8, up 6. I'm not going to sit here and make 8 little tick marks and 6 little tick marks. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to say, okay, I'm going left 8, up 6. So I'm thinking to myself, left 8, up 6. And I just literally make a point. I'm thinking in my head it's in the second quadrant. If I go left and up, I'm in the second quadrant. So this is important now when you draw the triangle. Again, this would be something else. You guys know I would be yelling. Out from the origin to the x-axis. Always draw your triangle. Out from the origin to the x-axis. Out from the origin to the x-axis. That's important. If I'm in the fourth quadrant, out from the origin to the x-axis. That would be my triangle. Because your reference angle, which is here, is what we're going to use as our angle when we find all of our trig functions. We're really using this angle, but our little theta here is considered the reference angle. The reference angle always goes to the x-axis. If I'm here in the fourth quadrant, it's the angle that's closest to the x-axis. And I'll keep talking about that more and more as we go through here. So now I label my triangle. I went left 8. Of course, distance is never negative, so I put a +8. Up 6. We should recognize that as 6, 8, 10. So I'm in the second quadrant. I'm thinking to myself right now, all students take calculus. So I think, I'm in the second quadrant. Sine and the reciprocal function cosecant are positive. All the other ones are negative. So I'm just going to put a little positive here as a little reminder to me that I'm thinking about it. Most common mistake, everybody forgets the positives and the negatives. So again, I'm going to list all these out. You have to start getting good at knowing the reciprocal functions, cosine and secant, sine and cosecant. You got to know those reciprocal functions. I'm writing them nicely every time. It may not always be so nice. So you got to make sure you know what the reciprocal functions are. So now I'm always going to find my three main trig functions we always loved with SOHCAHTOA. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So it's 6/10. Of course, I'm going to reduce that to 3/5. And the reciprocal is 5/3. All students, we're in the second quadrant, it's positive. Those two are positive. All these are negative. Don't forget. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. I reduce that, and of course it's negative. Take the reciprocal. Tangent is opposite over adjacent. And again, I reduce. Take the reciprocal. All students take calculus. 4 trig functions will be negative, and the other 2 will be positive. Which ones are positive? The S, because we're in the second quadrant. Okay, let's try another one. Let's say we're going to go through the point 7, negative 24. So think about it. What quadrant are we in? What quadrant are we in? You should already know. If I plot that point, I'm going to go right 7, down 24. I don't care what my scale is. I just know I'm going to be in the fourth quadrant. So I draw my triangle out from the origin to the x-axis every time. Out from the origin to the x-axis. This is my reference angle. Reference angle always goes to the x-axis. So now I went right 7, down 24, so I label my triangle. And of course, there's my triple. If you know your triples, you're good to go. So here we go again. All students take calculus. What's positive? Cosine and secant. Everything else is negative. So sine is going to be opposite over hypotenuse. It's in the fourth quadrant. It's negative. 2 positive. Everything else is going to be negative. Cosine. So think about filling these all in. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. It's positive, so I leave it. I'm always thinking to myself, all students take calculus. Tangent is opposite over adjacent, negative in the fourth quadrant, so this is negative 7 over 24. All students take calculus. You know, I would be yelling that every single time. Okay, now I'm going to mix it up a little bit. I'm going to give you something a little different. I'm going to say that the cosine of theta is 8/17. And I'm going to tell you that the tangent of that same reference angle is less than 0. What does less than 0 mean? Negative. We're going to find all 6 trig functions. You're not given a point. So we got to figure out what quadrant are we in. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, what is this telling me? This is telling me the cosine is positive. Where is the cosine positive? All students take calculus, positive in the first and the fourth. So I know I'm not here. I can't be in the second or the third because cosine has to be positive. So what else am I given? I'm given the tangent is negative. So out of the first and the fourth, where is the tangent negative? Well, it's definitely not the first because they're all positive in the first. So we're in the fourth quadrant. Cosine is positive. Tangent is negative. All students take calculus. Again, did you see me draw the triangle? Out from the origin to the x-axis. Here's theta. I label my triangle. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So 8 over 17. Don't you wish you knew your triples really well at this point? I'm sure you do. So now if I go through. I have 2 that are going to be positive. No, I'm sorry, 2 that are going to be negative. Gosh, I can't write this. And 4 that are going to be negative. So I'm writing the reciprocal functions right next to it. We already know the cosine was 8/17 and it's positive, so there's our 2 positive. All the other ones are negative. Maybe you want to come in here and already write negative, 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 so you don't forget. So sine is opposite over hypotenuse, and then we flip. Negative, both negative. Why? Because we're in the 4th quadrant. Only cosine and secant are positive. Tangent, opposite over adjacent, and then we take the reciprocal. Okay, so that's a different way to find the angles. All right, so now you're going to go to Schoology, look on Schoology to see what assignment you're going to do. Don't forget to submit it on there because that counts as your homework. And I hope you are all staying well and you are safe. Take care. Until next time. Bye.